What's going on, folks? My name is Michael Paul, and we are going to be discussing the idea of integrating Desmos activities into mathematics curriculum. Introduction here. Desmos activities are a fantastic way for students to go about learning math while also getting some great one-on-one and self-checking work as they go through. The target audience here is going to be looking at the teachers at the high school level in particular, and also the students at the high school level. One of the biggest takeaways here with Desmos is that the feedback is instant for the students. They get to see their work immediately and they get to see whether or not they're right or wrong. The other thing too is it's asynchronous. Students can work whenever they need to. Teachers can assign this to the students, and there's no issues whether or not the student is in class or not. They always have access. Looking at the planning the initiatives, there's a couple things that are really important. The LMS, the learning module here, is really important because some software doesn't integrate well, and Desmos is not one of them. Desmos does a fantastic job integrating to Schoology or Canvas into Google Classroom, a bunch of different easy ways for students to access it. There's also the curriculum where teachers have their curriculum set, but you can integrate a Desmos activity as an exploration so that the students get a much deeper understanding. The other thing with that is there is the possibility that Desmos can be used as an extension curriculum because they do have a paid version. Lastly, there's just general professional development. We want teachers, if they're going to be using the Desmos activities, to be well versed, whether that might be coding or whether that might just be general creation of lessons. As for determining the needs, right, we want to look at first the teacher input. Teachers are the backbones of the schools. So if we're going to be installing this Desmos in, we want to make sure that the teachers know why we're going to do it and how it's going to be most beneficial to them. We also want to make sure that we're seeing how the student devices can best access these. Are Google Chromebooks versus Macs or maybe just a Dell? Are there different capabilities for each that might make the Desmos activities go a little bit smoother? And the most important part, seeing that Desmos is an online activity, is the connection speeds. With very many students being on Desmos at a time, are we going to see that we need to up the connection for the classrooms? So let's look at our solutions. One of the biggest things we can look at is survey statistics. We want to make sure that if we're going to get the feedback from the teachers, we have a nice anonymous way of doing so. Creating surveys and having the teachers complete them in an anonymous way will give us legitimate statistics. Beyond this, for student devices, we want to make sure that the classes are one-to-one at the very least, hopefully the whole school. This will make sure that no matter what, every student can access the Desmos activities. Since there are some general issues in terms of tablets versus phones versus laptops, making sure the students are one-to-one with laptops is really important. And finally, there's the internet upgrades. So when we look at internet upgrades, we can, whether that may be more routers or a higher download speeds or things like that, upgrading the internet to account for all the new devices in the internet itself is important. So when we implement this, we want to make sure that it also runs smooth consistently. Having a technology team in the school is hands down the most important thing in terms of implementing the Desmos activities. In order for the technology to be seamlessly used by students and to be, troubleshooted by teachers, there needs to be some point person to go to as well, whether that might be a math teacher, a department head, administration, or an individual person within the technology team. There should be one person that goes through and leads all potential professional development going forward and in general troubleshoots or just as a liaison. And lastly, we want to make sure there's testing. We want to make sure that before this entire implementation occurs, that we roll it out maybe with just one or two classes so that when an entire school starts using these Desmos activities, there isn't any bog down on the internet. Continuing with that, we have our safeguarding our technology. One of the great things about the Desmos is it's got Google integration. It also integrates with other things like Schoology. In the past, students would have to have logins and codes, and that's not needed anymore. Also, with the server, students have, all of their information and all of their, their personal stuff is safe over the servers. The best part about Desmos as well is that It's an OER, it's an open educational resource. So at no point do we have to worry about students not having access because of, budget concerns, or maybe there's there's a paywall or something like that. So being OER is really great. Continuing on is when it is implemented, we want to maintain and support. So technology team is one of the greatest ways we can do that. Keeping that technology team looking for great ways to fix any issues. We also want to make sure that we're cycling the technology. Students need to have the most up-to-date information and laptops so that if there's any slowdown, it's because of maybe a need for the upgraded internet, but not upgraded devices. Those should be current. And we also, as discussed before, the curriculum extension, we can maintain the Desmos activities and extend upon them by potentially paying for the Desmos curriculum. In terms of training, Desmos holds 2 PDs every single year that teachers can go to. We also, if you have a point person and a technology team, they can lead some teacher trainings. And finally, the teachers can individually work with students and their classes to make sure that the students are comfortable using the Desmos activities. In terms of integrating, we want to make sure teacher proficiency is there. We want to make sure the students understand the expectations, and we want to make sure that any previous curriculum is adapted so that Desmos is easily integrated in. In conclusion, folks, I appreciate all this, but we need teachers and staff on board, whether that be for the survey, whether that be for a point person in the technology team. We want the buy-in from the students as well. And in all, we want teachers to see that the curriculum that they currently use can be enhanced by using Desmos activities. Thank you very much, folks.